I still remember installing those security cameras. They were meant to protect our home from outside threats, not to capture the moment my entire life would fall apart. But sometimes, the very things we build to keep us safe end up revealing the darkest truths. Or at least, that's what I learned the hard way. It was a crisp autumn evening when everything I thought I knew about my life shattered into a million pieces. I'd just landed the biggest contract of my career, a multi-million-dollar software security deal that would have transformed my company. Before we jump back in, tell us where you're tuning in from, and if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed, because tomorrow I've saved something extra special for you. The irony of that timing still haunts me to this day. I was driving home early for once. The setting sun painted the sky in shades of orange and purple, and I remember thinking how perfect it would be to celebrate with Sarah on our rooftop garden. We'd built that garden together during the pandemic, turning it into our private sanctuary. A bottle of the 1982 Bordeaux I'd been saving, the city lights below us, maybe even recreate our first dance like we used to do on special occasions. The security gate recognized my car as I pulled up to our Victorian-style home, a historic property we'd spent 3 years renovating together. But something felt off. There was an unfamiliar black Range Rover parked in our driveway, its sleek outline looking somehow menacing in the growing darkness. I pulled out my phone, opening the security app that connected to our home's camera system. A system I'd meticulously installed myself, being the tech enthusiast I am. The live feed from the front door camera showed nothing unusual, but when I switched to the backyard view, my blood ran cold. Sarah was there, in the garden we'd built together, but she wasn't alone. A man I recognized all too well was with her, James Morrison, my company's new head of legal affairs. His hands were on her waist, and they were swaying slowly to music I couldn't hear, a twisted parody of the dancing Sarah and I used to do. My fingers trembled as I switched between camera feeds. The kitchen, where Sarah and I had spent countless Sunday mornings making breakfast together, now showed empty wine glasses and what looked like takeout from La Maison, the French restaurant, where I'd proposed to her 4 years ago. The living room, with its vintage record player and the comfortable leather couch we'd picked out together, was littered with clothing I didn't want to recognize. I sat there in my car, watching through the cameras as my wife shared intimate moments with another man in our home, in the spaces we'd created together. Each swipe to a new camera feed revealed another piece of evidence, another knife in my back. Then my phone buzzed, a text from Sarah. "Working late tonight, don't wait up. Love you." I almost laughed at the cruelty of it. Right then, I watched through the security feed as she sent that message, curled up against James on our couch, wearing his shirt. The timestamp in the corner of the video feed would make one hell of a statement when paired with that text. I was about to drive away to give myself time to think, when I noticed movement on another camera feed. James was walking through our bedroom, picking up items, opening drawers. He seemed to know exactly where everything was, like he'd done this before. Then he did something that made my stomach turn. He opened my home office door and walked straight to my desk. That office contained everything: contracts, client information, security protocols, the entire backbone of my company. And James, my own head of legal affairs, was rifling through my files like he owned the place. The pieces started falling into place: the delayed contracts over the past few months, the mysteriously lost client files, the competition somehow always being one step ahead of us. This wasn't just an affair, this was corporate espionage, playing out right on my security feeds. I watched as James photographed documents with his phone, Sarah standing in the doorway, keeping watch. They were so confident, so comfortable. In their betrayal, they didn't even notice the small red light of the security camera blinking in the corner of the room. My hand tightened around my phone. They thought they were clever, thought they had orchestrated the perfect plan, but they'd forgotten one crucial detail. In my house, in my tech-obsessed, security-conscious house, everything was being recorded. Every meeting, every document, photographed, every betrayal, all time-stamped and backed up to my private cloud server. I started the car engine again, but I didn't drive home. Instead, I pulled away slowly, my mind already racing with plans. They had no idea that their own arrogance, their complete dismissal of the security systems I'd put in place, would be their undoing. As I drove toward the city, I smiled for the first time since watching that first camera feed. They thought they had won, thought they had taken everything from me. But sometimes the greatest victory comes from letting your enemies think they've succeeded, while you gather every bit of evidence their overconfidence provides. The security cameras that Sarah had always teased me about, calling me paranoid for installing so many, were about to become the stars of a very different kind of home movie, one that would bring down not just their affair, but their entire corporate conspiracy. Looking back at our life before everything crumbled feels like watching an old movie, the kind where everything seems almost too perfect to be real. Sarah and I had met 6 years ago at a cybersecurity conference in Seattle. I was presenting a keynote speech about the future of home security systems, and she was there representing her investment firm. The irony of meeting my future wife at a security conference isn't lost on me now. She stood out in the crowd, not just because of her striking beauty, but because she asked the most insightful questions during the Q&A. While others focused on technical specifications, she wanted to know about the human element, how technology could make people feel safe without making them feel imprisoned in their own homes. I remember thinking how perfectly she had captured the essence of what I was trying to achieve with my company, Secure Life Solutions. After my presentation, she approached me with a business card and a smile that could illuminate the darkest room. "Your vision of integrating security seamlessly into daily life is fascinating," she said, her green eyes sparkling with genuine interest. "But I think you're thinking too small." That was Sarah, always pushing boundaries, always seeing the bigger picture. Our first date wasn't at some fancy restaurant or trendy bar. Instead, we spent hours walking through the city's historic district, discussing everything from quantum computing to our shared love of 1960s jazz. When it started raining, we ducked into a tiny bookstore. She immediately gravitated toward the architecture section, pulling out a book about Victorian homes. "These houses," she said, running her fingers over the pages, "they were built to last, to tell stories. Modern homes feel so temporary." That conversation would eventually lead us to buying our home, a beautiful Victorian mansion that had seen better days. Most people thought we were crazy for taking on such a massive renovation project, but Sarah saw the potential beneath the peeling paint and creaky floorboards. We spent weekends exploring antique shops for period-appropriate fixtures, arguing playfully about color schemes, and gradually breathing new life into every room. The renovation became our shared passion. I handled the technical aspects, designing a state-of-the-art security system that blended seamlessly with the home's historic character. Sarah focused on the aesthetics, somehow managing to preserve the house's Victorian charm while incorporating modern comforts. The security cameras were my pride and joy, small, discreet devices that captured every angle without disrupting the home's classic beauty. "You're turning our home into Fort Knox," she'd tease. But there was affection in her voice. She understood that for me, security wasn't just about keeping threats out. It was about creating a space where we could truly be ourselves, where we could build our future without fear. Preparing and narrating this story took us a lot of time, so if you are enjoying it, subscribe to our channel. It means a lot to us. Now back to the story. Our wedding was an intimate affair in the backyard, just as the renovation was nearing completion. We'd transformed the overgrown garden into a wonderland of roses and fairy lights. Sarah wore a vintage-inspired dress that made her look like she'd stepped out of a Victorian photograph, and I surprised her by having a string quartet play our favorite jazz standards on period instruments. The success of Secure Life Solutions grew alongside our happiness. Sarah's business acumen proved invaluable. She had a way of seeing opportunities I might have missed. When she suggested expanding into corporate security consulting, I trusted her judgment completely. The company grew from a modest home security provider into a full-service security consulting firm, with clients ranging from Silicon Valley startups to Fortune 500 companies. We celebrated each milestone together. Every new client, every successful project, every industry award became a shared victory. On our third anniversary, I surprised her by converting the attic into a rooftop garden, a private oasis overlooking the city. She cried when she saw it, throwing her arms around me and whispering, "You make me feel safe enough to dream bigger than I ever dared before." The garden became our special place. We'd spend evenings there, sharing wine and dreams, planning our future. Sarah would often joke about installing a security camera in the garden, so we can capture all our perfect moments. I did install, and eventually hiding it discreetly among the climbing roses. It was meant to preserve our happiness, not document its destruction. Our life wasn't just about work and home renovation. We traveled extensively, always seeking out historic properties in each city we visited. Sarah had a particular fondness for European castles, and I loved watching her eyes light up as she imagined the stories behind each ancient stone wall. Security was different back then, she'd muse, running her hands along centuries-old fortifications. They built walls to keep armies out. Now we build systems to keep secrets in. That comment haunts me now. At home, we established little traditions that made every day feel special. Sunday mornings were sacred. We'd make breakfast together. In our restored Victorian kitchen, the sunlight streaming through the stained glass windows we'd salvaged from an old church. Sarah would dance around the kitchen, her hair catching the colored light, looking like living art. The security camera in the corner captured hundreds of these moments, building an archive of our happiness that I can't bring myself to delete. When I decided to bring on a new head of legal affairs for the company's expansion, Sarah was enthusiastic about James Morrison's candidacy. "His experience in corporate law is exactly what we need," she said, reviewing his resume over dinner in our kitchen. "And his understanding of intellectual property protection could help us patent some of your security innovations." I trusted her judgment. I trusted her. The company flourished under our combined leadership. Secure Life Solutions became known for its innovative approach to integrated security, not just protecting spaces, but creating environments where people felt genuinely secure. The irony of that mission statement wasn't apparent to me then. Our home became a showpiece, a testament to how security could enhance rather than intrude upon beautiful spaces. We hosted industry events in our meticulously restored rooms, and Sarah charmed everyone with her knowledge of both historic architecture and modern security trends. "Your wife is remarkable," clients would tell me, and I would beam with pride. She was remarkable, brilliant, beautiful, and seemingly devoted to building our dream together. The security cameras captured countless moments of her leading tours through our home, explaining how we'd managed to incorporate cutting-edge technology without compromising its historic integrity. Those same cameras would later capture very different tours, one she gave when she thought I wasn't watching. But in those golden days, everything seemed perfect. Our home was featured in both security industry publications and architectural magazines. Sarah's investment expertise helped us expand into new markets, and my technological innovations kept us at the forefront of the industry. We were the power couple of the security world, living in our perfectly secured Victorian masterpiece. The last major project we completed together was the Home Office. Sarah insisted it needed to be both beautiful and fortress-like, a space where I could work on sensitive client projects without feeling like I was in a bunker. We designed it together, hidden safes behind restored wood panels, state-of-the-art, encryption systems disguised as vintage radio equipment, and of course, discreet security cameras that captured every angle of the room. "No one would ever guess this room holds so many secrets," she said when it was finished, admiring how the modern security features blended seamlessly with the Victorian decor. She was right about that. The room held more secrets than I could have imagined. They say hindsight is 20/20, but sometimes even perfect vision isn't enough to make you see what's right in front of you. The warning signs started appearing about 8 months after James Morrison joined Secure Life Solutions. At first, they were so subtle that my security cameras caught them before I did. It began with changes in Sarah's routine. She had always been an early riser, enjoying quiet mornings in our rooftop garden before starting her day. The garden camera's footage showed her morning visits becoming less frequent, then stopping altogether. When I mentioned it, she blamed the changing seasons, saying the autumn chill made the garden less inviting, but the timestamps on our bedroom camera told a different story. She wasn't waking up early anymore. Then there were the late-night office meetings. As head of legal affairs, James often needed to work closely with Sarah on investment strategies and corporate contracts. "The corporate world never sleeps," she'd say, kissing me goodbye before heading to another evening meeting. I didn't think to check the office security footage then. Why would I? She was my wife, and James was a trusted employee. The first real red flag appeared in the data logs of our home security system. Sarah had always been casual about setting the alarm, relying on me to handle that aspect of our home life. But suddenly, she became intensely interested in the system's operation. She asked detailed questions about the camera placements, the backup protocols, the cloud storage settings. At the time, I was thrilled by her interest in my work. Finally catching the B2 security bug, I teased her one evening as she studied the control panel. "I just want to understand what you've built," she replied, her fingers tracing the edges of the touchscreen. "It's fascinating how everything connects." The camera in the hallway caught her expression as she said this, a look I now recognize as calculation rather than curiosity. Our intimate moments began appearing in different rooms of the house, away from the most obvious camera placements. I assumed she was being spontaneous, romantic even. The security logs told a different story. She was mapping out the blind spots in our surveillance system, the few areas where the camera's views didn't quite overlap. James started appearing more frequently at our home events. Professional gatherings, dinner parties, weekend brunches. He always had a plausible reason to be there. The cameras caught their interactions, brief moments that seemed innocent enough, a shared laugh in the kitchen, a quiet conversation in the garden, a lingering handshake at the front door. One particular incident stands out now. During a company celebration at our home, I was reviewing footage from earlier that day when I noticed something odd. James had arrived an hour before the party, claiming he needed to discuss an urgent contract matter with Sarah. The garden camera caught them in what appeared to be an intense discussion. Sarah was gesturing animatedly, while James kept glancing toward the house. At one point, he reached out and touched her arm, a gesture that lasted a second too long. When I joined them later, Sarah's explanation was smooth. James was just warning me about a potential competitor trying to poach our new encryption patent. The patent, That should have been another warning sign. Our company had developed a revolutionary new encryption system for home security, something that could have changed the entire industry. The development team had been working on it in secret for months. James, as head of legal, was handling the patent application, but something always seemed to delay the process. "These things take time," he would assure me during meetings, his confidence never wavering. "We need to make sure every aspect is protected before we file." Sarah backed him up, citing her experience with intellectual property investments. The office camera captured their exchange of glances after these meetings. Quick, knowing looks I was too preoccupied to notice. The security cameras in my home office began recording unusual access patterns. Late-night entries, early morning. Departures, times when I was traveling for business. Sarah had always had full access to my office. She was my wife, my partner in everything. The system logged her entries as authorized, expected. What I didn't expect was how often these entries coincided with James's visits to our home. "We're finalizing the patent documentation," Sarah explained when I casually mentioned seeing her in my office late one night. "James needed some technical specifications, and you were at that conference in Boston." Her voice was steady, her explanation reasonable. The camera caught her twirling her wedding ring as she spoke. A nervous tell I had never noticed before. The financial discrepancies started small. A few unusual charges on our joint credit cards, appointments that didn't align with her schedule, restaurant bills from places she claimed to have never visited. The home security system's external cameras showed her car leaving at times that contradicted her calendar entries. When I tried to access certain financial records from my office computer, I found files mysteriously corrupted or missing. Looking back at the security footage from those months is like watching a slow-motion car crash. Every frame contains a clue I should have seen. Every timestamp marks another step toward betrayal. The cameras caught Sarah spending more time on her phone, always angled away from their view. She began closing doors that had always stayed open, finding excuses to disable certain cameras for maintenance or upgrades. One camera, hidden in a vintage light fixture in the dining room, recorded a particularly telling moment. Sarah and James were reviewing documents after a company dinner. Everyone else had left. "Are you sure the cameras aren't recording?" James asked, his voice barely a whisper. Sarah laughed, that light, confident laugh I had once loved. "Trust me," she said. "I know exactly where they all are." The irony was that they were sitting directly under one of the few cameras Sarah didn't know about, one I had installed. During a recent system upgrade, the most damning evidence came from the garden camera, the one hidden among the roses. It caught Sarah and James meeting there one morning when I was supposed to be at a client meeting. They weren't discussing contracts or patents. Their conversation, picked up by the camera's sensitive microphone, revealed fragments of a larger plan. Words like transfer and offshore and untraceable floated through the morning air, mixed with intimate gestures that turned my stomach. Even our bedroom, the most private space in our home, held its secrets. The camera in the hallway outside caught late-night visitors when I was away, hushed conversations through partly opened doors, exchanges that looked more like business dealings than romance. The home that was meant to be our sanctuary had become a stage for an elaborate deception, with every security camera an unwitting witness. Perhaps the most painful warnings came from the footage of our daily life. The subtle changes in Sarah's behavior, how she stopped looking directly into the cameras she knew about, how her smile never quite reached her eyes anymore, how she would check her phone immediately after every kiss or embrace. The security system's facial recognition software, designed to track potential intruders, now documented the gradual disappearance of the woman I had married. The security footage from those next few months tells a story of escalating boldness. What started as careful, secretive meetings transformed into something more brazen, as if they were growing drunk on their own success. The cameras that had once captured our love story were now documenting its destruction, frame by digital frame. One particular morning stands out in my memory. I was reviewing footage from the previous night, something I'd started doing compulsively, when I noticed Sarah in my home office at 3 a.m. She wasn't alone. James was with her, both of them hunched over my computer, their faces illuminated by the screen's blue glow. The audio picked up fragments of their conversation. "The encryption key has to be here somewhere," James muttered, clicking through files. He wouldn't keep it off sight. Sarah leaned closer, her hand on his shoulder. "Check the hidden partition. He thinks I don't know about it, but I saw him access it last week." The camera caught her satisfied smile as the screen changed. "There. That's what our buyers have been waiting for." Buyers. The word hit me like a physical blow. This wasn't just an affair, they were selling company secrets. The security camera's infrared mode captured every detail of their celebration when they found what they were looking for. Their embrace casting a single twisted shadow on my office wall. The next day, I started receiving alerts about attempted access to our company's most sensitive files. Someone was trying to breach our corporate servers using my own credentials. The timing matched perfectly with the office footage from the night before. I watched through the kitchen camera as Sarah prepared her morning coffee, acting completely normal. While her phone lit up with messages from unknown numbers, I began noticing other changes too. Our home's security logs showed increasing activity in strange patterns, doors being unlocked and relocked in the middle of the night, external cameras being temporarily disabled for maintenance, security settings being subtly altered. Sarah had learned enough about our systems to start creating her own blind spots. The garden, once our sanctuary, became their meeting place. The camera, hidden in the roses, captured their conversations, each one more damning than the last. They discussed offshore accounts, shell companies, potential buyers for our technology. Sarah knew every detail of our company's vulnerabilities. She had helped build it after all. "The new security protocol launches next month," I overheard James saying during one of their garden meetings. "Once it's implemented, we'll have backdoor access to every system in the network." Sarah's response was chilling. "Nathan has no idea. He's so focused on protecting us from outside threats, he never considered the danger could come from within." The cameras caught their increasing intimacy, too. What started as professional touches became more personal, more possessive. James would arrive for business meetings, looking polished, and leave hours later with his tie loosened and shirt wrinkled. Sarah stopped trying to hide the evidence of these encounters. Lipstick-stained wine glasses left in full view, unfamiliar cologne lingering in our bedroom. One night, the doorbell camera captured a strange exchange. James was leaving after another late meeting when Sarah caught his arm. "What if we didn't have to sneak around anymore?" she asked, her voice clear in the night air. James turned back, his expression curious. "What are you suggesting?" "This. Our house, the company, everything. It could be ours. Legally, we just need to be patient." The camera caught his slow smile, the way he stepped closer. "You always did think bigger than him." My own security system was documenting the plotting of my downfall, recording every betrayal in high definition. The corporate espionage escalated. Our competitors suddenly seemed to know our every move. Contracts we should have won went to other companies. Client meetings were mysteriously cancelled. The cameras in my office caught Sarah and James reviewing confidential documents late at night, photographing pages, downloading files. I installed additional cameras, hiding them in places even Sarah didn't know about. The new footage revealed an elaborate dance of deception. They would meet in what they thought were blind spots, discussing plans and sharing information. Sarah had started wearing different clothes to work, changing into them in our bedroom after I left for the office. The cameras caught her packing overnight bags, then returning with them untouched, props in a performance meant to fool me. The most damning evidence came from the audio recordings. My security system didn't just capture video, it recorded every sound, every whispered conversation. Late one night, the kitchen camera's microphone picked up a phone call Sarah thought was private. "Everything's in place," she was saying, her voice low but excited. "The offshore accounts are set up. Once the technology transfer is complete, we'll have enough leverage to force a buyout. Nathan won't have a choice." James's voice came through, her phone's speaker. "And you're sure about this? Once we move, there's no going back." "I've never been more sure of anything," Sarah replied, and the camera caught the determination in her expression. "Nathan built all of this security to protect us from threats outside. He never thought to protect himself from me." The next day, they grew bolder. The office camera captured them accessing files they had no right to see, downloading sensitive information about our clients' security systems. Sarah used her intimate knowledge of our company's structure to identify vulnerabilities, while James prepared documents that would look legitimate to anyone investigating later. I watched through the cameras as they transformed my home into their command center. The dining room table, where we used to host family dinners, became covered in laptops and documents. The garden, where we had once danced under the stars, echoed with their strategic planning. Every room held evidence of their betrayal, all of it meticulously recorded by the very security system they thought they had compromised. One afternoon, I received an alert about unusual activity in our company's financial accounts. Large sums were being moved through a complex network of transactions disguised as routine business operations. The security footage from my office showed Sarah authorizing these transfers using my login credentials, while James made calls to unknown numbers. "The money will be untraceable by the time he notices," James was saying, "and by then, the technology will already be in our buyer's hands." Sarah's response was captured perfectly by the camera. "He trusted me with everything. That's what makes this so perfect." The cameras caught their celebration that evening, expensive champagne, intimate embraces, their laughter echoing through my home's empty rooms. They thought they had won, thought their plan was foolproof. They never suspected that every moment of their betrayal was being recorded, backed up, and transmitted to secure servers they knew nothing about. The day everything imploded started. Like any other, captured in perfect digital clarity by my home's security system. The morning cameras showed Sarah getting ready for what she claimed was a crucial investor meeting. She spent extra time on her appearance, something the bedroom cameras had caught her doing more frequently lately. The closet camera recorded her choosing an outfit I'd never seen before, an expensive black dress that spoke more of evening plans than business meetings. I watched the live feed from my office downtown as James arrived at our house an hour after I'd left. He didn't use the front door, he had a key now, something I discovered while reviewing older footage. The garage camera caught him parking, his car inside, next to Sarah's. They thought this would hide their meeting from the neighbors, not realizing every movement was being recorded from multiple angles. But today was different. Today, I had set a trap. The previous night, I had accidentally left a laptop open in my home office, its screen displaying what appeared to be access codes to our company's most secure server, the one containing our revolutionary new security algorithm. It was a fake, of course, a carefully crafted deception designed to look like the real thing. The office camera showed Sarah discovering it during her morning cleaning routine. "James," her voice was excited on the phone call picked up by the kitchen camera. "You need to come over now. I found it. The master access codes. Nathan left them right out in the open." The security system tracked their movements through the house. They went straight to my office, eager to seize what they thought was their golden opportunity. The hidden camera in my desk lamp recorded their expressions as they attempted to access the server. triumph turning to confusion, then frustration. "Something's wrong," James muttered, his fingers flying over the keyboard. "These codes should work." Sarah leaned over his shoulder, her perfume probably masking the scent of their betrayal. "Try the backup server. Nathan always keeps redundant systems." The camera caught James's growing agitation. "It's not working. None of it's working." He slammed his fist on the desk, making Sarah jump. "We promised the buyers we'd have the algorithm today. Do you know what they'll do if we don't deliver?" That's when things got interesting. The cameras captured their first real argument. The facade of their perfect partnership cracking under pressure. "You said this would be easy," James shouted, standing up so suddenly his chair crashed against the wall. "You said you knew all his security protocols, that we'd be able to walk right in and take what we needed." Sarah's response was ice cold, her true nature finally revealing itself on camera. "Don't you dare blame this on me. I've given you everything: access to the house, the company's financial records, client information. Without me, you'd still be a two-bit corporate lawyer chasing ambulances." The office camera caught every detail of their deteriorating alliance. James pacing like a caged animal, Sarah's carefully maintained composure starting to slip. They didn't realize they were performing their breakdown for an audience of digital eyes, every word being recorded and transmitted to my secure cloud server. "The buyers won't wait." James ran his hands through his hair, desperation evident in every movement. "They've already paid half up front. If we don't deliver the algorithm, then we'll get it another way." Sarah cut him off, her voice hardening. The camera caught a new expression crossing her face, something calculated and cruel that I'd never seen before. "Nathan has a physical backup. He thinks I don't know about it, but I saw him access the safe behind the bookshelf last week." The next few minutes of footage still make my stomach turn. They tore apart my office, pulling books from shelves, moving furniture, searching for the safe that didn't actually exist. The cameras recorded their increasing desperation, their mounting fear, every empty drawer, every false lead pushing them closer to the edge. Then Sarah stopped suddenly, staring directly into one of the visible security cameras. The footage shows the exact moment realization dawned on her face. "The cameras," she whispered. "James, the cameras." The office camera captured his confusion. "What about them? You said you disabled the ones in here." "The new ones." Her voice was barely audible. "Nathan's been upgrading the system. He never showed me the new plans." She spun around, her eyes darting to corners she'd never paid attention to before. "We need to check the footage, all of it, now." They rushed to the security control panel in the hallway. Sarah's hands were shaking as she tried to access the system access that I had quietly revoked the night before. The camera caught her growing panic as authorization denied messages flashed repeatedly on the screen. "My codes aren't working," she said, her composure finally shattering completely. "He changed everything. He knows. Oh God, he knows." James grabbed her shoulders, his face tight with anger. "What do you mean he knows? You said this was foolproof. You said he trusted you completely." The hallway camera recorded their complete meltdown. Sarah trying desperately to access the security system, James alternating between rage and panic. They were like actors in a tragedy, playing their final scene for an audience of automated cameras. "We need to get out of here," James finally said, pulling Sarah away from the control panel. "Grab whatever you can, documents, access cards, anything we can still sell." But Sarah wasn't listening. The camera caught her standing perfectly, still her face pale. "The backup server," she whispered. "Everything we've done, every meeting, every file transfer, it's all been recording to a server we can't access." The next few minutes of footage show their desperate attempt to cover their tracks. They ran from room to room, gathering papers, deleting files from my computer, trying to erase evidence that was already safely stored far beyond their reach. The cameras caught every moment of their panic, every attempt to undo months of carefully documented betrayal. That's when they made their final mistake. In their desperation, they tried to access the company's main server one last time, triggering the silent alarm I had installed. The security footage shows them freezing at the sound of police sirens in the distance. "You said we'd never get caught." James's voice was barely a whisper, caught perfectly by the office microphone. "You said you had everything under control." Sarah's response, her last words captured by my security cameras, was chilling. "I did. I had everything under control. He was never supposed to be smarter than me." I sat in my downtown office watching the live security feed as Sarah and James panicked. In our home, but I wasn't just watching, I was orchestrating every moment of their downfall. The multiple screens before me displayed different camera angles, each one documenting another piece of evidence in their betrayal. My phone buzzed, a text from Detective Rodriguez. "Units in position, waiting for your signal." I had spent weeks preparing for this moment, building an airtight case that would destroy not just their affair, but their entire criminal enterprise. The security cameras had given me everything I needed, and now it was time to use it. "Hold positions," I texted back. "Let them incriminate themselves further." The office camera showed James frantically trying to access my computer again. His expertise in corporate law proving useless against my encrypted systems. Sarah was pacing, her perfect composure shattered, that expensive black dress now wrinkled from their frantic search. "The buyers are calling," James snapped, holding up his phone. "What am I supposed to tell them?" The camera's microphone picked up Sarah's bitter laugh. Tell them that you failed, that your brilliant plan to steal the most advanced security algorithm in the industry just fell apart because you couldn't outsmart a man who actually built something instead of just stealing it." Their argument was escalating, each blaming the other for their failure. Every accusation, every admission of guilt was being recorded in crystal clear quality. But I wasn't done yet. I had one more card to play. I pressed a button on my laptop, executing a command I'd prepared weeks ago. Suddenly, every screen in my home office lit up, dozens of monitors displaying security footage from the past months. Sarah and James froze, watching their own betrayal play out in high definition from every angle. There they were, meeting secretly in the garden. There was Sarah, accessing confidential files late at night. There was James, photographing private documents. Every criminal act, every whispered conversation about selling company secrets, every intimate moment they thought was hidden, all playing simultaneously on a wall of screens. "Oh my God." Sarah's voice was barely a whisper. The camera caught her reaching out to touch one of the screens, her hand trembling. "He recorded everything." James's reaction was more volatile. "Turn it off," he shouted, desperately pressing buttons on the keyboard. "How do we turn it off?" But they couldn't. Turn it off. The footage kept playing, an endless loop of their crimes captured by the very security system they had tried to circumvent. I watched through the live feed as they realized the full extent of their exposure. "The offshore accounts," James was saying, his face pale in the monitor's glow. "The technology transfers, the client information. He has proof of everything." Sarah wasn't listening. She was staring at a particular screen, one showing footage from just last week. In it, she was explaining to James exactly how to bypass the company's firewall, describing security protocols that were supposed to be secret. The camera caught her expression as she watched herself betray every confidence I had ever placed. In her, I decided it was time. I pulled out my phone and sent one final text. "Move in." The external cameras caught the moment police cars silently pulled up to our house, officers taking positions at every exit. Through the window cameras, I could see tactical teams preparing to breach. But I wasn't done with my performance yet. Opened my laptop and accessed the home speaker system, another feature Sarah hadn't known about. My voice filled every room of our house, captured perfectly by dozens of cameras. Enjoying the show, the office camera caught their reactions. Sarah spun around, looking for the source of my voice. James backed away from the computer, his face a mask of fear. You know, my voice continued, calm and measured. When I installed all these cameras, they were meant to protect us from outside threats. I never imagined they'd end up protecting me from you, Nathan. Sarah's voice shook as she spoke to the ceiling. Nathan, please, we can explain. Explain? I let out a small laugh that echoed through the house. Like you explained to our competitors how to breach our security? Or like you explained to those offshore buyers how to steal our clients' information? The cameras caught James making a dash for the door, only to freeze when he saw the police lights through the window. Sarah remained rooted in place, her eyes darting between the screens, still playing their greatest hits of betrayal. It's funny, I continued, watching their every move through my wall of monitors, how you thought you could outsmart someone who literally builds security systems for a living. Did you really think I wouldn't have backups? That I wouldn't notice unauthorized access to our servers? That I wouldn't be recording everything? Nathan, listen. Sarah's voice had taken on that persuasive tone she used to use on clients. Whatever. You think you saw? I saw everything, I cut her off. Every meeting in the garden, every late-night file transfer. Every conversation about selling our technology to the highest bidder, and so did the FBI's cybercrime division. They've been watching too, Sarah. Everything's been streaming to their servers in real time. The office camera captured the moment. James broke. She said you'd never figure it out, he shouted, pointing at Sarah. She said you were too trusting, too focused on external threats to notice what was happening inside your own home. Sarah's response was vicious, and you were too busy thinking with your ego to realize we were in over our heads. Some corporate lawyer you turned out to be couldn't even cover your tracks properly. I let them continue arguing, each accusation adding another nail to their legal coffin. The cameras recorded every word, every gesture, every admission of guilt. Through my downtown office window, I could see FBI agents entering the building. It was time to end this. The police are about to enter the house, I announced through the speakers. I'd suggest you don't try to run. The cameras will catch that. 2. And really, haven't you given me enough evidence already? As if on cue, the front door burst open. The entry camera captured the FBI tactical team flooding in, weapons raised. Sarah and James raised their hands, their final moments of freedom, recorded in perfect digital clarity. The footage from that night tells a story better than any Hollywood thriller. As I watched from my downtown office, surrounded by screens showing every angle of their arrest, I couldn't help but appreciate the irony. Every camera they had tried to avoid, every security measure they had attempted to circumvent, was now documenting their downfall in high-definition detail. The entry camera captured the FBI tactical team's precise movements as they secured the house. Sarah and James stood in my office, their hands raised, surrounded by screens still playing their months of deception. The look on Sarah's face when Agent Morrison, no relation to James, read her rights was something the cameras caught perfectly. Disbelief mixed with a dawning realization that her perfectly crafted world was crumbling. Sarah Mitchell and James Morrison. Agent Morrison's voice was clear on the audio. You're under arrest for corporate espionage, wire fraud, conspiracy to commit theft of trade secrets, and attempted sale of proprietary technology. The cameras caught James trying one last desperate play. This is all a misunderstanding, he attempted, his lawyer's instincts kicking in. We were conducting internal security tests, authorized by... Save it for your lawyer, Agent Morrison. Cut him off. We have months of surveillance footage showing you attempting to sell proprietary security algorithms to foreign buyers. The last conversation you had about the buyers was recorded less than an hour ago. I watched through multiple angles as they were handcuffed and led through our house, past the garden where they had plotted, through the kitchen where they had celebrated their supposed victories, down the hallway lined with photos from my wedding to Sarah. Each security camera captured another moment of their humiliation, but I wasn't done yet. As they reached the front door, I spoke through the house speakers one last time. "Sarah," my voice made her stop, the doorway camera catching her flinch. "Remember when you said I was too focused on external threats to notice what was happening? Inside my own home? You were wrong. I noticed everything. I just waited until I had enough evidence to bury you both." The exterior cameras captured them being led to separate police cars, their faces illuminated by red and blue lights. Sarah looked back at our house one last time, and the porch camera caught her whispered words. All this time, he was always one step ahead. Inside my downtown office, I turned to Agent Morrison's partner, Agent Chen, who had been watching the feeds with me. "Time to show them what else we have." The next few hours were a masterclass in digital forensics. While Sarah and James were being processed at FBI headquarters, we began unveiling the full scope of evidence my security system had gathered. The cameras had captured more than just their physical meetings. My system had recorded every digital footprint, every file transfer, every unauthorized access attempt, every communication with potential buyers. The timestamps on the security footage matched perfectly with the suspicious network activity I had been quietly documenting. "This is unprecedented," Agent Chen said, reviewing the evidence. "Your security system didn't just catch them in the act. It documented the entire conspiracy from start to finish." I pulled up more footage on my screens. "Watch this," I said, playing a series of clips showing Sarah and James discussing their plans in what they thought were camera blind spots. They were so confident in their knowledge of the system's weaknesses, they never considered I might have upgraded it. The evidence was damning. Security footage showed James photographing confidential documents, matched with network logs showing those exact files being transferred to unknown servers. Cameras caught Sarah entering access codes, paired with system alerts showing unauthorized entry attempts. Every criminal act was time-stamped, documented, and backed up across multiple secure locations. The buyers they were working with. Agent Chen leaned forward, studying a particular clip. "We've been trying to track this group for months. They're connected to several other corporate espionage cases." I nodded, pulling up more footage. Sarah and James were just the latest in their recruitment chain. But they made one crucial mistake. They tried to steal from someone who specializes in catching thieves. The interrogation footage from FBI headquarters proved particularly satisfying. I watched through their secure feed as Sarah and James, in separate rooms, began to crack under pressure. The federal agents didn't even need to push hard. They just played selected clips from my security cameras and watched the confessions roll in. James broke first. Faced with footage of himself discussing payment terms with foreign buyers, he quickly turned on Sarah. "She orchestrated everything," he claimed, his polished lawyer demeanor crumbling. "She knew all the security protocols, all the company's vulnerabilities. I was just following her lead." Sarah, meanwhile, maintained her composure longer, but even she couldn't deny the overwhelming video evidence. The interrogation camera caught the moment she finally realized the full extent of her exposure. Agent Morrison had just played a clip of her explaining to James how to bypass our most secure servers. "How did you get that?" she demanded. "That area of the garden wasn't supposed to have any cameras." "Your husband," Agent Morrison replied, "is very thorough in his security measures. Would you like to see what else he recorded?" The look on her face, as they played clip after clip, each one more incriminating than the last, was something I'll never forget. The federal cameras caught every micro-expression as she watched her careful plans dissolve. Back in my office, I was already working on damage control. The security cameras had given us more than just evidence of their crimes. They had revealed every client file they had accessed, every piece of technology they had tried to steal, every contact they had made with potential buyers. "We're going to need protective orders for all the compromised clients," I told my legal team via secure video conference, "and prepare a press release. We need to get ahead of this story." The next 48 hours were a blur of activity, all captured by various security systems, FBI teams combing through my house, collecting additional evidence, forensic accountants tracing the money trails Sarah and James had tried to hide, cybersecurity experts backtracking their digital footprints to identify potential technology leaks. The weeks following their arrest unfolded like scenes from a complex surveillance operation, each moment captured and documented by the very security systems they had tried to exploit. I sat in my downtown office, surrounded by screens displaying various camera feeds, watching as their carefully constructed scheme unraveled thread by digital thread. The federal investigation revealed a conspiracy far deeper than even I had initially suspected. My home security footage became the cornerstone of a massive case that stretched beyond simple corporate espionage. The cameras had captured conversations about international buyers, offshore accounts, and a network of industrial spies that spanned 3 continents. "Your security system didn't just catch a couple of criminals," Agent Chen told me during a briefing. "It helped us uncover one of the largest technology theft rings we've seen in years." The conference room camera caught his expression of grudging admiration. They really picked the wrong house to target. The evidence was overwhelming. Each day brought new revelations as forensic teams analyzed the footage. The garden cameras had captured meetings with individuals we now identified as representatives from competing tech firms. The office cameras had documented the photographing and transfer of proprietary information worth millions. Even the kitchen camera, installed mainly to monitor deliveries, had recorded damning conversations about payment arrangements and dead drops. Sarah's preliminary hearing was particularly interesting. The courtroom security cameras caught her first public appearance since the arrest. Her designer clothes replaced by standard-issue prison garb, her carefully maintained appearance showing the strain of federal detention. Her lawyer attempted to paint her as an unwitting accomplice, manipulated by James and the international buyers. Then the prosecution played the security footage. "As you can see, Your Honor," the prosecutor gestured to the screen, "Mrs. Mitchell was not only aware of the criminal enterprise, she was its architect. This footage from her husband's home security system shows her explicitly detailing access protocols to known industrial spies." The courtroom camera captured Sarah's flinch as her own voice filled the room. "The algorithm is worth billions. Once we have it, we can name our price. Nathan's too trusting to ever suspect his own wife." James's hearing was simultaneously occurring in another courtroom. His defense strategy differed. He claimed he was acting under duress, forced into the scheme by threats from the international buyers. That defense crumbled when they played footage of him boasting in my garden about how easy it would be to steal and sell the technology. "Did you really think you wouldn't get caught?" I asked him during a supervised meeting at the federal detention center. The security camera in the visitor's room captured his response. "We thought we had control of all the cameras," he admitted, his arrogance finally deflated. "Sarah said she knew every blind spot, every weakness in your system. We never imagined you had backup cameras, redundant servers. That was your first mistake," I replied, watching his reaction on the monitor mounted in the corner. "You thought you could outsmart someone who builds security systems for a living." The corporate fallout was significant. My company's stock initially took a hit when news of the attempted technology theft broke, but rebounded strongly once the full story emerged. The security footage didn't just document a crime. It demonstrated the effectiveness of our systems. Orders started pouring in from companies wanting the same protection that had caught Sarah and James. Your home security system caught what a team of corporate investigators missed. one CEO told me during a contract signing. That's exactly the kind of protection we need. The cameras kept running through it all, documenting the aftermath of their betrayal. They captured the federal agents who came to collect Sarah's remaining belongings from our house. They recorded the forensic accountants boxing up financial records from my home office. They even caught the moment when Sarah's family came to retrieve her car from our garage, their faces showing a mix of shame and disbelief. One particular piece of footage proved especially valuable to the prosecution. The garden camera had captured Sarah and James discussing contingency plans just days before their arrest. The conversation revealed links to other corporate espionage cases, leading to a cascade of arrests across the technology sector. The cameras in the garden. Sarah's voice was clear in the recording. Those were always his pride and joy. He installed them himself, spent weeks getting the angles just right. The irony in her tone was palpable. He was so proud of creating the perfect security system. He never thought someone would use it against him. James's response was equally damning. The perfect security system that's about to make us rich. Once we sell this algorithm, we'll have enough money to disappear completely. New identities, new lives. The prosecution played this clip during the preliminary hearings, using it to deny both Sarah and James the possibility of bail. The defendants not only posed a flight risk, the prosecutor argued, but had actively planned to assume new identities and flee the country with stolen technology, the judge agreed. The courtroom cameras captured Sarah's composed facade finally cracking as she was led back to detention, while James simply looked defeated. Back in my house, I began the process of rebuilding, not just the security systems, though I did upgrade everything, adding new layers of protection and redundancy, but my life itself. The cameras that had documented their betrayal now recorded the transformation of my home. Gone were the traces of Sarah's presence, her artwork, her furniture choices, the little touches she had added during our renovation. You're erasing her completely, my sister observed during a visit, noticing the changes. The living room camera caught her, running her hand along a newly painted wall. It's like she was never here. No, I corrected her, gesturing to the security monitors that still displayed multiple camera feeds. I'm keeping the evidence. I'm just not letting it define the space anymore. The case proceeded rapidly. The mountain of video evidence making, conventional legal delays and maneuvers virtually impossible. Sarah's lawyer made a last-ditch attempt to suppress the security footage, arguing it constituted unauthorized surveillance. The judge's response was scathing. The defendants were recorded by security cameras in a home they were actively attempting to rob, he stated, his words captured by the courtroom camera. The fact that they were caught by the very security system they sought to compromise does not make the evidence inadmissible. It makes it ironic. The trial transcripts and security footage tell two parallel stories. One of justice being served in the courtroom, and another of a life being rebuilt, frame by digital frame. 6 months after their arrest, I sat in the federal courthouse, watching as Sarah and James faced the consequences of their actions. The courtroom security cameras captured every moment of the proceedings. Sarah, her designer wardrobe replaced, by practical court attire, maintained her composure even as the prosecution methodically presented their case. The evidence was overwhelming, hundreds of hours of security footage, each clip more damning than the last. The defendants didn't just attempt to steal technology, the prosecutor announced, his voice clear in the courtroom recordings. They betrayed trust, violated privacy, and participated in an international conspiracy to sell proprietary security systems to the highest bidder. I watched Sarah's reaction on the courtroom monitor as they played a compilation of security clips. Her meetings in the garden, her late-night access of confidential files, her conversations with James about selling the technology. The camera caught the slight tremor in her hands, the only visible sign that her carefully maintained facade was cracking. James, seated at a separate defense table, looked like a shadow of his former self. The polished corporate lawyer who had strutted through my house like he owned it was gone, replaced by a man who couldn't meet anyone's eyes. His own lawyer's defense strategy had fallen apart in the face of the video evidence. Your Honor, James's attorney had argued earlier in the trial, my client was merely following Mrs. Mitchell's lead. She was the one with access to the security systems, the one who knew the company's vulnerabilities. The prosecution's response was to play footage from my home office camera. James actively accessing servers, photographing documents, discussing prices with potential buyers. His role as an active participant, not a follower, was undeniable. During a break in the proceedings, I stepped out to the courthouse hallway. The security camera there caught a moment I hadn't expected. Sarah's mother approaching me, her face lined with grief and confusion. "All those cameras in your house," she said, her voice barely audible in the recording. "Did you install them because you suspected something? Did you know what she was planning?" I looked directly at the courthouse camera as I replied, knowing this moment too would become part of the official record. "I installed them to protect us from outside threats. I never imagined I'd need protection from her." The impact of the case extended far beyond our personal drama. My company's security systems, proven effective in such a public way, were suddenly in high demand. Corporate clients, spooked by the revelation of such sophisticated industrial espionage, wanted the same protection that had caught Sarah and James. "Your home security system did what corporate investigators and internal audits couldn't," one CEO told me during a contract signing, his words captured by my office cameras. It provided incontrovertible evidence of a complex criminal conspiracy. That's the kind of security every company needs. The trial footage shows the prosecution's methodical presentation of evidence. Day after day, they played clips from my security cameras, each one adding another layer to the conspiracy. The garden cameras had captured meetings with international buyers. The office cameras had documented the theft of proprietary information. Even the kitchen cameras had recorded damning conversations about offshore accounts and escape plans. One particular piece of footage proved especially powerful. The bedroom camera had captured Sarah making a late-night phone call just days before their arrest. Her words, clear in the high-quality audio, revealed the full scope of their intentions. "Once we have the complete algorithm," she had said, unaware of being recorded, "we can auction it to multiple buyers. Every major competitor will want this technology. We're not just stealing a security system, we're stealing the future of digital protection." The courtroom camera captured the jury's reactions as this recording played. The shock, the disgust, the understanding of just how calculated the betrayal had been. Sarah's attorney attempted to object, arguing that bedroom recordings violated privacy expectations. The judge's response was unmistakable. The defendants were recorded by security cameras in a home where they were actively committing federal crimes, he stated, his words preserved in both audio and video. Their expectation of privacy was forfeit the moment they began their criminal conspiracy. Throughout the trial, I continued monitoring my home security feeds from my laptop in the courthouse. The cameras caught federal agents making final sweeps for evidence, forensic accountants documenting the money trail, cybersecurity experts tracing digital footprints. My house had become both a crime scene and the primary source of evidence. Against the criminals, Sarah's final attempt to explain herself came during her testimony. The courtroom cameras recorded her carefully prepared statement, her voice steady despite the circumstances. "I never meant for it to go this far," she claimed, looking directly at me. "It started small, just information about competitors, market, insights, but then we realized what we had access to. what it was worth. The prosecution's response was to play another security clip, Sarah in my office, methodically copying files, her actions anything but impulsive or unplanned. The timestamp showed this happening just weeks after we'd installed the security system, long before she claimed the conspiracy began. James, when his turn came, attempted a different strategy. The courtroom camera captured his desperate plea. For leniency. I was in over my head, he testified, his former confidence completely gone. Sarah knew the systems, knew the company's vulnerabilities. I just followed her lead. Again, the security footage told a different story. The cameras had captured James taking the initiative multiple times, making calls to buyers, setting up meetings, discussing prices. His role as an equal partner in the conspiracy was undeniable. The trial lasted 3 weeks, but the jury needed only 6 hours to reach their verdict. The courtroom cameras captured the moment of truth, Sarah and James, standing as the forewoman read the decision. 1 year after the verdict, I sat in my renovated home office, surrounded by screens showing feeds from my upgraded security system. The cameras that had caught Sarah and James's betrayal now monitored a completely transformed space. Every trace of my previous life had been methodically erased, replaced by something stronger, more secure. The security footage from the past. Year tells a story of rebirth. The cameras captured each phase of the renovation. Contractors removing furniture Sarah had chosen, painters covering her favorite colors, technicians installing cutting-edge security features. Each change was documented in high definition, a digital record of recovery. "You've turned this place into an impenetrable fortress," my brother remarked during a visit, his words picked up by the new audio systems. The living room camera caught him examining one of the discrete security panels. But I guess that's understandable. After everything, what he didn't understand was that the enhanced security wasn't about fear, it was about control. The cameras now captured a life rebuilt on my terms, each frame showing progress rather than betrayal. The corporate transformation was even more dramatic. The security system that had caught Sarah and James became the foundation for a revolutionary new product line. Companies worldwide wanted protection that had proven itself so dramatically in court. Your home security system didn't just catch criminals, my new head of legal affairs observed during a strategy meeting. It created an unimpeachable record of their crimes. That's what every corporation needs. The cameras caught me working late into the night, developing new security protocols, enhancing existing systems. Each improvement was inspired by lessons learned from Sarah and James's betrayal. Every vulnerability they had tried to exploit became a strength in the new system. The garden, once their favorite meeting place, underwent the most dramatic transformation. The cameras recorded its conversion from a romantic space into a high-tech testing ground. New sensors hidden among the plants, advanced motion detection disguised as landscape lighting, sophisticated audio monitoring concealed in garden features. "You've turned their betrayal into innovation," Agent Chen remarked during a final case review. The garden camera caught his appreciative look at the subtle security measures. Every weakness they exposed has become a new layer of protection. The federal investigation had expanded far beyond Sarah and James, leading to arrests across the technology sector. My security footage had exposed links to other corporate espionage cases, helping authorities dismantle an entire network of industrial spies. One morning, exactly 1 year after the verdict, I received an unexpected delivery. The front door camera captured the arrival of a federal courier with a package. Inside was a letter from the prosecutor's office, along with a hard drive containing all the security footage used as evidence in the trial. Case closed. The letter. Read. The footage can now be returned to your possession. It stands as one of the most comprehensive pieces of evidence ever presented in a corporate espionage case. I uploaded the footage to a secure server, but didn't watch it. The cameras caught me placing the hard drive in a safe, not to preserve memories, but to maintain a record of lessons learned. The business world had changed in response to the case. My security cameras captured meetings with CEOs, tech executives, and government officials, all seeking protection against similar threats. The betrayal that had nearly destroyed my company had transformed it into an industry leader. Your system didn't just catch them, one CEO observed during a contract signing. It created an undeniable narrative of their crimes. That's what makes it unique. It doesn't just detect threats, it documents them. The home cameras now recorded a different kind of life, gone were the intimate dinner parties and social gatherings. Instead, they captured focused work sessions, technical demonstrations, and strategic meetings. The space had evolved from a home into a testament to security innovation. The media eventually lost interest in the story, but its impact continued to ripple through the corporate world. My security cameras captured interviews with technology journalists, demonstrations for industry leaders, and presentations at security conferences. The system that caught them has become the new standard in corporate security, a tech reporter observed during a house tour. The cameras caught her examining the subtle integration of security features into the home's design. You've turned a personal tragedy into a technological revolution. The renovation continued, each change captured by the ever-watching cameras. The master bedroom was converted into a secondary control center. The dining room became a testing lab for new security features. Even the kitchen was upgraded with sophisticated monitoring systems. You're not just rebuilding, my sister noted during another visit. You're reinventing everything they tried to destroy. She was right. The cameras now documented a life focused on creation rather than protection, innovation rather than prevention. Each frame showed progress, development, evolution. The security footage from that year tells a story of transformation, not just of spaces and systems, but of purpose. The cameras that had exposed betrayal now captured the development of solutions that would prevent others from experiencing similar violations. 2 years after Sarah and James's arrest, I sat in my completely transformed home office, reviewing security footage not of betrayal, but of success. The multiple screens surrounding me displayed feeds from the next generation of security systems. Technology born from the ashes of their conspiracy. The cameras that had once captured their crimes now recorded a different story. Through my upgraded security feeds, I watched as another corporate espionage attempt was thwarted at a client's facility. There would be infiltrators caught by systems inspired by my own experience. The algorithm detected unusual behavior patterns. My head of security operations reported his briefing captured by the office cameras. Just like in your case, they thought they knew the system's blind spots. They didn't realize there aren't any blind spots anymore. The house itself had become a testament to the lessons learned. Each room, monitored by multiple layers of security, told its own story of recovery and reinvention. The garden where Sarah and James had plotted their betrayal was now a showcase for our most advanced surveillance technology. Your personal tragedy created the perfect testing ground, a visiting security expert observed, his words picked up by the garden's hidden microphones. Every vulnerability they exploited has been transformed into a strength. The cameras caught me working late one evening when an alert flashed across my screens. Another company using our systems had just prevented a data breach. The would-be thieves, like Sarah and James, had thought they understood the security they were trying to defeat. They hadn't counted on the lessons learned from my experience. Your system doesn't just stop threats, a client told me during a video conference. It anticipates them. It thinks like the criminals because you've been there. You know how they think. The home security footage from the past 2 years tells a story of evolution. The cameras captured each phase of transformation, from a space violated by betrayal to a fortress of innovation. Every room where Sarah and James had plotted now housed cutting-edge security features. One morning, I received a letter from the federal prison. The security camera above my desk recorded my reaction as I read Sarah's latest attempt at communication. Unlike her previous letters, this one was different. "I finally understand," she had written. "You weren't just protecting your home. You were creating something revolutionary, something we were too blind to see because we were too focused on stealing it." I placed the letter in a file with the others, its journey captured by multiple camera angles. Each piece of correspondence was now evidence of a different kind, proof that the best security comes from understanding both the technology and the human element. The corporate world had taken notice. My security cameras recorded meetings with international executives, government agencies, and technology leaders. The system that had caught Sarah and James had evolved into something far more sophisticated. "You've created more than security," a visiting tech CEO observed during a demonstration. "You've created accountability. In a world of corporate espionage and data theft, that's priceless." The home cameras now documented a life dedicated to prevention rather than protection. Each room had become a laboratory for new security features. Each space a testing ground for innovative detection methods. "The irony," my brother remarked during a family dinner, "is that their betrayal made you stronger. They tried to steal your security system, and instead they helped you create an even better one." The footage from that evening shows my response, captured in perfect clarity by the dining room cameras. They taught me the most valuable lesson in security. Trust is good, but verification is better. The media had long since moved on from the story, but its impact continued to resonate through the corporate world. My security cameras captured presentations to industry leaders, demonstrations for potential clients, and training sessions for security professionals. "Your experience changed the way we think about corporate security," a security consultant noted during a training session. "It's not just about keeping threats out. It's about documenting everything, creating an unassailable record of truth." The renovation had transformed every space touched by their betrayal. The cameras recorded each change, each improvement, each innovation. The master bedroom became a command center. The living room housed a state-of-the-art monitoring station. Even the kitchen incorporated sophisticated surveillance features. "You've turned their crime scene into a revolution," Agent Chen observed during his final visit. The security footage caught his admiration of the subtle yet comprehensive protection now integrated into every room. The system that had caught Sarah and James became the foundation for something far more significant, a new standard in corporate and personal security. The cameras now captured the development of technology that would prevent others from experiencing similar betrayals. Looking back through 2 years of security footage, the transformation is clear. Each frame shows not just recovery, but evolution. The cameras that documented their downfall now record the rise of something stronger, more sophisticated, more secure. "The greatest security," I told a group of corporate clients, my words captured by multiple cameras, "comes not from preventing access, but from ensuring that every action, every decision, every moment is documented. In the end, the truth is your strongest defense." The home security footage from these past 2 years tells a story not of victimhood, but of victory. Each camera that caught their betrayal now captures innovation. Each room where they plotted now houses solutions. Their attempt to steal my security system didn't destroy it. It transformed it into something they could never have imagined. As I sit in my office, surrounded by screens showing feeds from throughout the house. I realize that Sarah and James didn't just fail to steal my security system. They helped create its next evolution. Every betrayal they planned, every vulnerability they exploited, every weakness they exposed became a building block for something stronger. The cameras keep recording, capturing not just spaces and movements, but the ongoing story of transformation. In the end, they didn't destroy my security system. They made it unbeatable. 3 years to the day after Sarah and James's arrest, I received an unexpected alert on my security system. The front gate camera had detected a familiar face, Sarah, recently released from federal prison, standing at the entrance to the home she had once tried to steal. The cameras captured her hesitation, her hand hovering over the intercom button. She looked different. Prison had stripped away her polished exterior, leaving someone almost unrecognizable. The high-definition footage showed every detail of her transformation, from the confident conspirator to a woman humbled by consequences. Through my office monitors, I watched as she finally pressed the button. The crystal-clear audio picked up her voice, now lacking its former assurance. "Nathan, I know I have no right to be here, but I needed to see what we tried to destroy, what you built from it." I studied her image across multiple camera feeds, considering my response. The security system that had caught her betrayal was now worth billions, protecting corporations and governments worldwide. Her attempt to steal it had only made it stronger. "The gate will open," I replied through the intercom. "Follow the lit path to the garden. That's as far as you go." The external cameras tracked her journey up the driveway, capturing her reactions to the changes. The house she had once claimed as her own was now visibly different, a perfect fusion of historic architecture and cutting-edge security. Every window, every doorway, every corner showcasing the technology she had failed to steal. In the garden, where she had once plotted with James, she found herself surrounded by subtle reminders of her betrayal. Hidden cameras captured her expression, as she realized that even the flowers now concealed sophisticated surveillance equipment. "It's beautiful," she said finally, her words picked up by multiple microphones. "All of this, it's beyond anything we could have imagined." I watched her through the monitors, remembering the security footage that had documented her crimes. "That was always your mistake," I replied through the garden speakers. "You were so focused on stealing what existed, you couldn't see what it could become." She nodded, understanding finally registering on her face. The cameras caught a single tear rolling down her cheek as she took one last look at the home she had lost, the innovation she had inadvertently inspired. "Thank you," she said quietly, "for letting me see it, for showing me what happens when you build something instead of trying to steal it." As she walked away, the security cameras tracked her departure, every step, every gesture, every moment documented just as they had recorded her betrayal years before. But this time, the footage wasn't evidence of a crime. It was proof of a transformation, both of technology and human nature. The system that Sarah and James had tried to steal now protects thousands of homes and businesses worldwide. Their betrayal, captured frame by frame, had become a case study in corporate security, a testament to the power of innovation over deception. The cameras keep recording, the system keeps evolving, and the truth remains safeguarded in perfect digital clarity. Because in the end, the greatest security isn't just about keeping threats out, it's about creating something so powerful that even those who tried to destroy it must acknowledge its triumph. Never again would blind trust be my downfall. The cameras that caught their betrayal now stand guard over something far greater. A legacy built not from deception, but from the unshakable foundation of truth, captured in perfect clarity, frame by digital frame. Up next, you've got 2 more standout stories right on your screen. If this one hit the mark, you won't want to pass these up. Just click and check them out. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any upload from us.